We learned, I guess, last night, early this morning, that Anna Gainey, if that name sounds familiar, it should. She is the daughter of Bob Gainey, former Canadiens coach and GM and player, and she is going to be the Liberal nominee to run in a by-election June 19th in NDG Westmount, the most Anglophone riding in the entire province. Now, ordinarily, and we talked about this earlier on, Natasha, right? We asked people what they thought. It's a riding I don't think the Liberals have ever lost, so you'd think for someone being parachuted in, it would be pretty much a cakewalk, but that doesn't seem to be the case. There's some people out there a little angry, a little concerned with what the federal Liberals have done. And the question then is, does the local candidate pay the price for that?
Yeah, there is that kind of sentiment, certainly over Bill C-13. And then also perhaps that she was, as you said, parachuted, but they felt like they didn't get an option to get to know any other potential candidates who could be running. So
let's find out about the candidate who will be running for the Liberals. Anna Gainey is on the line. Anna, thank you so much for your time.
Hi, happy to be here.
So let's start with you telling our listeners what they should know about you.
What they should know about me. So, look, I'm born and raised in Montreal, and it is my home. It is where I'm proudly raising 3 kids. I live in the riding, and I grew up in the riding. So I'm very excited to have this opportunity potentially to represent this community, my home, in Parliament after June 19th. So I'm very motivated to serve and to be present in our community. I also have a very long track record of service as a volunteer to the Liberal Party, serving as the national president from 2014 to 18, and prior to that as a riding association president and other roles. So, I see it as a really great opportunity to take those skills and to bring a strong voice to government and represent a place that is so near and dear to me.
So you mentioned, and we mentioned this earlier when we talked about it, you have been with the federal Liberal Party for quite some time. You ran Justin Trudeau's campaign for the leadership of that party back in 2012. And as I said when we asked the question earlier today, some people saying, well, maybe that's a little too close to the Liberal brand as opposed to someone who's bringing their own ideas to the table. How do you answer that?
Well, look, I've been, as you said, a Liberal for a very long time, probably even going back to my McGill Liberal days. So I've been with the party and committed in a variety of roles through the tougher times, like back in 2011, and through more exciting times as we rebuilt and took the party from third to first place. So, I've had a lot of experience, and I've seen a lot of different elections and local and national elections. So I think that if anything, the experience that I have will be an asset. I will be able to really hit the ground running in Ottawa, be a strong voice in government for our community, and I think that's a real asset.
I think I just want to talk about the fact that some people are viewing this as you having been parachuted in. As you just pointed out, you've lived in the community, you're invested in the community. I think more what they're getting at is this sense that they didn't feel like there was a whole lot of option for anybody else to potentially win that. What do you say to them?
Well, I feel like I just ran a pretty intense nomination campaign. I had 2 strong opponents who also ran strong campaigns, good people with strong CVs and experience as well, one who was a candidate in another riding in the past election. It was a short timeline, and I think that was dictated more by the by-election schedule happening across the country. As you may have seen, that this is one of 5 by-elections happening right now, and so those other ones were due to be called, and it is typical of a government to bundle by-elections and run them all at the same time. And so the time frame in our neighborhood was a bit shorter, but nonetheless, I think that we had a really great opportunity over the last 5-6 weeks to meet with our neighbors and community leaders, all of the candidates, to register people with the party, explain the process, and motivate them to come out and vote last night, which is what we did.
Well, now I know you haven't had the opportunity, obviously, to meet people there and go door to door. But when you talking about the issues in that riding, what are the issues that have been raised? What do you think they are?
Well, I've actually done a ton of door to door in the last month, and I've probably made hundreds of phone calls. So I do have a pretty good sense that I certainly haven't reached everyone, but I really have made an effort to connect with as many people as I could over the last few weeks. There's a lot of issues in our riding. Some of them are prevalent across, urban ridings across the country. Some of the housing challenges that we're seeing, those pop up in our community as well. There are some challenges in certain communities with immigration. There's some frustration with the speed of things like family reunification or of permanent residency and other processes that go through a great deal of paperwork and take a lot of time. And I met with a lot of folks who are frustrated with the pace of that in some cases. So that came up frequently. I think climate change continues to be an issue that we see also nationally as a concern when we look at our kids. And when I think about why I'm running to really contribute to building a better future for my kids and grandkids, climate change is something that we just have to keep really our foot on the gas with respect to, pardon the pun, that was probably the wrong expression, but we have to really continue the pressure to advance toward net zero. And you mentioned as well language. There's a lot of people who are feeling quite frustrated with respect to some of the changes to the legislation, both provincially and federally, with respect to the official languages.
So I live in the riding, Ms. Gainey. I am a potential voter. I am a voter. I'm going to vote. I'm a potential voter for you is what I mean. Yeah, I always do. But I am worried about Bill C-13. I'm particularly worried with the Liberals' kind of strong-armed approach to this. And I'd like to know how you will defend Anglo rights.
Well, I think that, we have to continue to, in this community, listen to people's concerns. What is it about C-13? And I think also some of the provincial legislation that is really unsettling and worrying people for different reasons. And then to be able to take those concerns and express them here in Ottawa to government and be that voice and to look for solutions, to be constructive and to recognize that, we do need to continue to protect and promote French, and we can't do that on the backs of linguistic minority rights, for example. So, being that advocate and understanding the issues, understanding the legislation, and trying to bring people together to find solutions and bring some comfort to some of these issues, I think is where I would like to focus. I think C-13 will become law before I have an opportunity to sit in Parliament, and so it will be a matter of moving forward. The government has committed, I think, close to $140 million for the Anglophone minority community to, enhance our services and to get into community groups that can try to ensure that the services and the other things that people are concerned about, that those groups that can support those services, for example, are well funded and well positioned to help advocate for the community and to continue the work of, advancing and making sure that those rights are protected.
So you're aware, we're going to run out of time. I did want you to weigh in on this, and I want you to hear a comment from someone earlier today on you now representing the Liberals in that riding. But, Anthony Housefather was the only MP to stand up and vote against this, which took a lot of courage. And I'll tell you that when we had him on the show, a lot of people thought he did the right thing, that someone finally had the spine to stand up and say, you know what, this is not good for the Anglophone community here in Montreal, here in Quebec. What do you think about that? Because, this was a whipped vote. He probably should have voted yes, according to the party, yet he chose to vote no.
Yeah, well, I think that was a really, Anthony is a friend. We've spent a lot of time together on this issue, talking about it and knocking on doors and talking to voters about it. He's very passionate about it. And I think that was a tough thing for him to do. But I think, for him, he certainly feels like it was the right thing for him to do. And, I do understand where he came from with that decision. And, I think that we have to keep, to me, I keep going back at the doors to the fact that the government has committed to joining the Supreme Court challenge on Bill 21. The Prime Minister has been clear about concerns around the use of the notwithstanding clause. And I think that's the genesis of some of the frustrations with C-13 come from those two pieces of legislation. Provincially, the preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause with those pieces of provincial legislation. And we will continue that process to the Supreme Court. And, our government is committed to doing that.
I will let you go, but I want you to hear one last thing. And like I say, Dowson, who's a regular contributor here on some of the shows, was on this morning. Your name came up, and she had this to say, and I want you to just tell me what you think of this.
She's a Nepo baby, and she confirms the stereotype about the Liberals, which is that it's a party of relatively privileged, well-educated, polished people who are really not in touch with what's going on the ground.
So that's what she said. What do you say to that, Anna?
I'm not sure I have a comment for that. It's a bit misrepresentative, I think, and a bit unfair. But, I hope to prove her wrong, and I will work very, very hard for my community if it's given the opportunity to represent in Parliament.
And I asked you, by the way, you do live in the riding. I think we need to clarify that.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
I do think we also need to clarify that Anne Lagacé-Dowson has run for the NDP in
Exactly.
the past. Yes, so
worth pointing out. Anna Gainey, thank you so much for giving us the time this afternoon. Want to wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll get a chance to speak again. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Anna Gainey. She is the Liberal nominee in that by-election coming up June 19th in NDG Westmount, running for the Libs. There you go.